And I think we're gonna make it a Mopar day. I got some stuff kind of cleaned up and taken away, and I kind of want to give myself a little heads up on what I have to do on the Plymouth that has sat for a few years. And so I figure we'll fire it up, we'll bring it in the garage and put it up on the lift and see what we have to work with. So the battery that's been in it that I bought, I guess in 09, took a charge, and seems to be maintaining a charge because it's been sitting a week and it's still cranking it over. That's good. It is the car's original from the factory, 318. It's 727 trans and a rear that is 273 gears. The whole drivetrain is still original. I'm trying to line up to it. There's a string hanging. I don't know if you guys can see it behind that light, but there's a string hanging. That's the center of my lift, so I'm looking to make it the center of my car. Anyway, it still maintains that drivetrain. It's all the original stuff. The 318 has a 340 upgrades. The car's 67. The motor, at the time, I want to say it was 70. I went with 70 340 engine parts. So the cam, the intake, the exhaust, the carb, I want to say the heads. No, the heads are the 318 heads. Are all copied from a 340. Like a 70 340, which is pretty much the same small block anyway, and then gone from single to dual exhaust. So it was like a 230 horsepower motor. It's probably 300 horsepower now, something like that. It's more of a cruiser because it still has the 273 gears in it, but I kind of like it that way. It's nice that it cruises down the highway and it's just kind of mumbling along. It's not screaming like crazy. So without further ado, let me get this thing up on the lift and we'll take a peek underneath and see what we got to start dealing with. Alright, let's see if we can lift this thing up in the air without it falling in half, I guess. Oof, convertibles do not like lifts. I just gotta bring them up a little bit and give them a quickie little shake. Tell by the gap on the doors, the body, the way the lift kind of grabs it from the center of the car. We'll go all the way. There you go. See the body flex. Alright, let's go get a flashlight, creeper. Let's go underneath. I haven't been underneath this in a while myself, so it'll be a trip back on memory lane. Guess the last time I did shackles on it. And a couple of mufflers and tires. I think it's the last time it was out. Here's the gas tank. I always thought that it only came with one gas tank strap. Whether it had two or not, I don't know, but I added this chinny metal looking piece of crap, and then there's the actual one that was there. So I kind of wanted to have a second one on there. I think I thought that the last time I was looking that was iffy somewhere. Don't look terrible. Might go replace that with a better piece of metal though. And then there was a piece of metal across the back that was kind of funky. I was going to do both at the same time. Why I'm not seeing that now, I think I was talking about that right there. And it does not seem to be as bad as I remember. Oh, now I can see it. Yeah, that piece right there. So we may leave that alone. You know what I'm talking about? Doesn't look like it's anything detrimental to the car. That drop looks like hell. Again, I put that together a long time ago. I put quarters on this car 23 years ago or so, and it was probably my first attempt. So again, I've had it 30 plus years already. About 30 years. I think we're right at 30 years. A common area that rusts out in them. I'll show you in a minute. I did a repair on that too. I don't see anything really bad as far as rust. Right with the lift, picked it up. Had to do a patch in here. This was all gone, and they sold like in the Mopar magazines. They like this scab-on deal that you can weld over the top of it. Now I look at that as a total piece of crap, but at the time I thought it was the greatest thing in the world to fix the car that was going to have to be junked, in my opinion, because the torsion bar was going to go rip out of it. But that's all. This section right here. Doesn't look like much has changed. And that was with a Sears MIG welder. Missing some issue there. We'll drop down where the cable goes through. Yeah, that looks pretty hamburgery, don't it? So that was my first welder. Again, the rest of it looks pretty good though. Floors are the original floors. So I may not do as much to this as I thought I was going to do to it. We may just repair whatever issues it has to be repaired and drive it, which is pretty much I know the radiator's leaking. I think I want to change out that gas tank strap for one that looks more something like that one. I don't know why I thought that gas tank strap was crappy. I'm trying to find something that looks kind of iffy. It's pretty beefy. I don't see it tearing out the frame or anything. Alrighty then. Yeah, so maybe we'll just make another strap for that to help support it. The body needs paint. I know that. I first bought this car in, it was 7 different colors, and the guy that I bought it from didn't know what color he wanted to paint it, so he painted it 7 different colors. So the fender was one color, the hood was another color, another fender, etc., all the way around. But it wasn't just regular paint. No, it was fluorescent paint. It was like flat fluorescent paint that was on it. And okay, so I quickly, before my parents realized that I bought another car, I was still living with them. I think they left away on vacation or something for like over the weekend. I brought the car home. My dad was in cahoots with me, and I went and I painted the car, took all the trim off of it, painted it yellow, because I was just going to run it for summer. There's the yellow that I painted it. It was school bus yellow, but I guess there's a couple of different school bus yellows. It was the lighter of the 2 colors, and it's what they had laying around at the time. So I bought that like on the cheap. It was probably 20 bucks for, you know, paint that wasn't used at the paint store. And I shot the whole car yellow, and of course the black top and everything, the black interior that it had. So made it one color, and then of course it was the bondoed, really bondoed bad quarters, bondoed everything, you know, just again, it was just a driver. That rust was down in the corner I was talking about, what I wasn't taking care of. And I kind of fell in love with the car, and it turned into a labor of love. It was also, there's a longer story that goes with it, with quitting addictions and putting your energy into something other than your addiction. And this car kind of helped play a big role in that. So anyway, I went from 7 different colors to yellow, and then later on I didn't even have a garage. I was renting a room in a house, and I was welding quarter panels on the side of the street. And then painted it yellow, white rather. And I was never all that happy with the white, because that's what happens when you listen to women and their opinions of what color you should paint your car when you have in mind what you want, but you want to impress them, I guess. I'm not quite sure how that went down. But I ended up painting it white instead of painting it the yellow that I wanted to redo it, so it may go back to that color. And the paint is beat. Let's see if it's going to show up. See all the little bubbles? Alright. So one time in its past, the back window is a glass back window. I had junk in the trunk, and I put the top down, the back window bound on whatever that was, and blew out the window. I gotta start you back up. I gotta change a battery. New battery. The back window exploded, and so I figured I was gonna get a new top on it at that time anyway. I had never put a top on it. I was still running the old one, which was decent. But it was, again, it was at that point 20-something years old probably by then. So I wanted my garage clear for that winter, and I put it away outside, and I put covers and tarps and everything over it. Car covers, blankets, then tarps. Well, I had 2 tarps on it. One of them came down. I had one over the trunk, probably went up halfway up the window, and then another one that kind of came down. Figured I had them overlapping. Well, over the course of the winter, the one underneath flapped down, and the water was able to go back into the car and just absolutely sweated moisture under the car and caused all the damage that you see with all the little tiny, see if it picks it up, all the little tiny bumps and crap that are in the paint. So it definitely needs to get sand. It looks like it's got sap or something on it, but all those little bumps are actually in the car, in the paint. So those are all little rust bubbles underneath the paint. So the car needs to be sanded down again and repainted, and at that time I will paint it back to the way I want it, which was yellow and black, and or dark green and black. The car was originally dark green. I'll probably show that somewhere on it too, under the trunk or something. It was like a dark green, I won't call it metallic, but it had that, like, that metal kind of look into it. So anyway, that's undecided, and that's a little bit of the back history of the car. So what we need to do to get it back on the road. This looks smaller than I thought. The radiator leaks. It's the original one. And you can see where all that glob of solder is. Well, it's still leaking out that glob of solder. I've taken that apart, and I've tried to solder it before, so I may give it one more attempt at trying to seal that again. Other than that, I think we're just going to tune it and go over the belt and all kind of little stuff. There's that battery. The battery was used from like AutoZone at the time. They were half the price. I think they were 25 bucks. And the date on that is 6/09. So it's already 7 years old. Seems to have recovered though. What else can I tell you about it? It was stolen once for a couple of days, and because I picked up power, the headlight switch was no good, so I picked up power from the ignition switch for the headlights. It was stolen at night, and when they boogered up the ignition switch, they lost power for the headlights. They couldn't turn the headlights on, so they had to drive it with no lights. So it didn't make it too far away before they had to pull it over and rip the stereo and stuff out of it. And then about 2 days later, cops didn't find it. I drove around and I found it, and I went from a extreme low to a very high, let's say, finding something like that. I still have dreams that it gets stolen now and again though. So let me go shut this off, and let me start doing some wrenching on it and see what we can get done. So clean the top of the radiator with Scotch-Brite and some window cleaner and just kind of cleaned that seam. Just trying to figure out where it was leaking from. And see if you guys can see where it just kind of oozes right out of there. So I figured before we take the whole thing apart, what I'll do is I'll drain down the cooling system, and I got a big old soldering iron that might be able to plug in, and we'll try walking that back and forth with some flux to see if we can get that to seal over. If not, we're gonna have to try to wick a bunch of the solder out of there, clean up the joint, and attack it that way. But I figured we'll give it a shot. The lazy man is way first. Mountain Dew, anyone? Well, that's drained. I figure I'll clean up a little bit. The only problem is it doesn't do anything for the contaminants that are down in the crack, you know what I mean? Kind of see where it's not all that sealed together very good right there. So we'll flux it up and heat it up though, see what we get. Might get lucky. Might not. There's soldering irons, and then there's soldering irons. Yeah, it's a soldering iron. So we'll let that sucker heat up and see if we can kind of get some of that that solder to flow up on top of there and play well. I'll try this at home. Safety third. I wanted to get down into that crack a little bit better and be able to clean the lip that's on this side of it and get some flux in there. I have a feeling the gap in between there was corroded, so that's why I just did what I did. I hate a wire wheel. I still kind of want to get in there and see the dusty stuff coming out of it. Yeah, goober that up with some some flux rather. Let's pack some flux on that. Probably one without a hair in it. Wherever the flux goes, the solder will go too, so let's get rid of some of that. Right. Let's see if I can get enough heat on that guy. That's probably going to be the hardest part, is getting the radiator hot enough. do you think? Rather too much than too little, I guess. Get solder landing in the pail. I don't want to go down too far that way. I think I might have went down too far that way and caused a bigger problem. So what I'm going to do is clean, probably redo the same that I did right there, and I ended up chasing it. I think I cured the leak there, but I may have created one there. Let me see if I can. Problem is that the area is not prepped underneath there, so that's what I was afraid of. But let's that looks good. It leaves that gap. I know you can't see it because the soldering iron's in the way, but it's leaving a Chocolat bleu. Let's I want to see if I have a radiator pressure tester. That might help us out instead of trying to put coolant back in there. But I'm not liking that part. That part looks fine. That part now looks like shit. So I have a feeling I just moved that leak further on down the line, and I may have a problem where I start chasing that all the way around the tank. And just as I figured, it just seems like I moved the leak further on over. So I got to do the kind of the same thing again and get in the area and prep it, and hopefully try to stay out of, you know, further down, and that I'm not opening that area. Again, it's not leaking where I just had the leak. I just shifted it. So let me try chasing it one more time. We're closer. I pumped it up to 10 psi, which is that line. But it's slowly creeping. So I sucked down the whole radiator. And missed it by that much. Friggin' stinking. I'm close. I could sense it. Now, let me try over there. That all looks good. Yeah, it was good. You knew this was going to happen. I knew it was going to happen too. I'm just trying to keep from taking the whole thing apart. It's the original radiator. Third time's the charm. Pumped it up to 10 psi. It seems to be holding there. Kind of soaked everything down. I don't see no foamy looking bubbles kind of coming out of anything. Yeah, so I ended up doing it there, and then one more time there. So actually the fourth time's the charm, I guess. So I kind of soaked down the rest of the radiator hoses and whatnot, see if I could see anything on them. Again, it's got 10 psi in it, so let's see if anything is close to rupturing. This thing always seems to run fairly cool, never really kind of builds any pressure. As long as it's got coolant in it, you know. So sprayed the heater core hoses, looked at them. I think we're fine. I kind of want to, right there. Show up. Need some juice. Go spray it. Optical illusion. And I'll let that go a little bit too. Anyway, so I kind of like to bring it back and maybe pressure wash the whole engine bay too, so I knock off whatever crap is loose on the intake, and you know, there's the flaky ass paint and that kind of stuff. Just the crudding, the general cruddiness of everything that's there. Should probably take the rug off, the heat rug off the top up here too, and knock off the flake and paint. That's because that was never prepped correctly. Oops. So we'll see. Let me. I'm gonna go do something. And a little waste not, want not. My bucket's got a bunch of solder in it, so I just got a paint filter in there. Just making sure I don't get little chips down in there. Gurgle, gurgle. That's how much solder fell. Blowing it out with the air gun and all. I can still top that off. And now I don't have to worry about wasting the old stuff. At some point I'll change it, but not yet. So I did just that. I went back and put a plastic bag over the carburetor and just kind of washed down the engine compartment, knocked all the heavy crap off of it. Manifold still got water in it. The headers are leaking a little bit, the manifolds, exhaust manifolds are leaking a little bit. Yeah, I'm not too concerned about that. When I'm going around lights, the only thing that's not working is the hazard. So I'm gonna go look into that, see if it's the flasher or the or a fuse or whatnot. I got dash lights. That's the dash light thing. Now you did it. Wipers work. Got some blades on there. Heater fan works. Radio, who knows? And the top will do when it's not in the garage. And we got no horn. So, all stuff I gotta do to get a sticker. So I get the 4-ways going and get the horn going, and we'll kind of go from there. So I'll put a test light. I'll put a test light on the horn and see if the horn lights up. Hear a relay clicking. So I have a feeling it's going to be probably the horn itself. Sometimes, where are they? There they are. Sometimes you can go and tweak the little adjuster where it is right there on the horn itself, and you can kind of get it to come back. But I'm gonna go get a jumper and run 12 volts right to it, and we'll see if putting power right to the horn, if the horn works or not, and that'll tell us what we're dealing with. I got power wire going across. Let's see what we get. All right, not the horn. It's gonna be the relay. I bet you the contacts inside there are probably pretty cruddy. You hear it firing when I was hitting the button. It ain't that. All right, so let me open that little sucker up, and we'll see what's inside making it tick. So I took the relay out of there. Basically just kind of peeled back the case, and all it is a choke or a coil with a set of contacts in it. So when you energize the coil, it just makes a path for the either the ground or the hot that's going to the horn. And look at the terminals on the backside, they're kind of corroded too. So I figure we'll go to a wire wheel, and I'll clean all these guys up on a wire wheel, and I'll also take a file in between those set of contacts. Right there is the other place where it can be bad, and give it some a little bit of love. Corrosion on the backside of it too. So I'm gonna clean it up and maybe spray some oil or whatnot. Some dielectric grease maybe. Keep that stuff from getting any worse. Make it last another 48 years or so, right? So let me get that cleaned up, and we'll see if it decides it still wants to cooperate. So I hooked it back up. Of course, it didn't work, and it wasn't clicking at all. So I went back and looked, and you guys can see that guy. It's not connected to that post. So that needs to get resoldered. It looks like I can steal a loop off of right here and then have at it, because it's going to be tight trying to get it any other way. So I'm going to clean that back, and we're going to go from big soldering on this car to a little soldering and see if I can get that reconnected. And if I can, I think a relay will work. I like to try to keep the old stuff, the original stuff going, instead of replacing it with something new, because it seems like every time I replace something with something new, it's good for 2 or 3 years and it needs to be replaced again. So I'd rather put the time in, and it actually makes the car, or whatever it is, worth more if it has all the original stuff. So I got that put back together, and here's the wire coming. The horn ring, I have a pair of clamps on it right now, so it's holding the horn down all the time. So you can kind of see the contacts sparking and arcing there when it's pulling it in. So that should be good. I just want to clean them up and put some dielectric grease on everything, and put the cover back on it and crimp the cover back down. And those relays, the idea of a relay is just so that you're running fine wire, much lighter gauge wire, through the car, through the wiring harness, up through the column, and on the horn ring. Instead of having everything with really big heavy contacts, it just needs a very fine one, because obviously this is that's the gauge of the wire that the horn ring is trying to make contact across. So it's very light, you know. And then you jump into the bigger contacts, which is that right there. So say the horn draws 20 amps, you probably have a 1 amp circuit for making that happen. So it just allows you to just have much lighter, smaller controls, and then at the point of use, generally at the point of use, it runs a relay and then steps the voltage, and not the voltage, but the current up to standards of what the item is that needs to be running. Well, they're a little slow, but they work. I just found where the relay was, and I swapped it with the one for the directionals, and that came back to life. But again, of course, see if I might be able to get another one of those. Might even have one in my stash, but that should do it. And while I was up in there, I found the tool. I guess I was doing some dash work or something last, who knows how long ago, but I've been looking for that little nub. I wonder where it was. So I think that's it for this video, guys. I'm gonna go wrap it up. I'm gonna go, when the stores open again, chase some belts and some you know, grab an oil filter, fuel filter, that kind of stuff. I still have to bleach the seats in the interior. Probably just rubber it off, but I want to go kill all that, put the top down, and that kind of stuff. But I don't think it's all that far off from getting a sticker. Pretty much everything works now. The only thing I haven't checked is reverse lights, but I'm sure we can kind of figure that out too. Again, thanks guys for watching, comment, subscribing, and see you later.